Guys, welcome to the Vlad Catcher Show, the number one show for founders, execs, and entrepreneurs who are scaling their businesses. This video is presented by Veracode, and we have an amazing interview for you today with its CEO, Brian Roche, about how he's growing and scaling the business. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm a huge fan. As like I said before we got started, I feel like I already know you because I've seen you so much. So it's really great to be here.
Well, Brian, thank you for that compliment. I appreciate it. Can you tell us more about Veracode and how it works?
So the very simple way to think about Veracode is that we secure the world's software. So if your organization uses software, writes software, or consumes software in any way, shape, or form, we ensure that all of that software is safe. And we do that by delivering the most comprehensive platform to manage not only your specific risk, but also any of the software that you're consuming. And so our suite of products are designed to reduce security risk and enable developers to go quickly.
Can you tell us more about the products, Brian, and their use cases?
Absolutely. But let's start from the market and the customer perspective. So some of the challenges that our customers face today is that we've come through several eras of software development. So the first era when I, Vlad, was a developer was I wrote every single line of code myself. And that era was replaced by the era where we compose applications, where we're consuming open source software and we're building applications at a rapid pace. And we thought we were going quick then, but let me tell you what's happening today. AI has transformed how software is being created and built, but it's also simultaneously increased the risk. Most of these large language models are trained on open web content, and that content is not secure. So what's happening is we're trading off speed for lack of security. And so that's exactly where we come in, and that's where we meet the market. And so when prospects or customers look to work with Veracode, they are seeking a platform and a solution that's going to enable them to use AI as the competitive advantage that it provides them, but then secure their software at the same time. So it's almost like you get to go fast with the easy button because we secure your software and you get to return all of that time and that productivity to innovation, which ultimately drives your business forward.
And just to make sure I understood kind of the product correctly, Brian, so correct me if I misunderstood. So an engineer will ship code, then the engineer will push that code to, let's say, GitHub, and then Veracode will automatically check that code, scan it for problems, and if there are problems, it'll highlight those problems, and then the engineer can fix it before the code is released. Did I kind of understand the flow correctly?
That's exactly right. And we often call that the shift left movement. So fix software security vulnerabilities early in the platform. But let's maybe step back for a moment and talk about what are the pillars of a risk management platform. Pillar number one is, as you talked about, engaging directly with developers and securing code before it ever makes its way into production. So ultimately, never allowing that insecure code to be exploited. The second part of this is integrating into the places where they store their code, into the repositories. And so the goal is to keep software safe in those repositories. But the third most important component of the Veracode platform is the governance, risk, and compliance. Many of us think of compliance as a once in a one time a year activity, and what really has to happen is we've got to prove every single day that software is not only safe to ship, but we shipped indeed those artifacts, and we can tell what's in production, and we can guarantee that it's safe. And so when we talk about the risk management platform, it is really three components to it: the great developer experience that we deliver, integrated into the tools and technologies they use every day. Second component is securing the repositories. And the third then is being able to provide that risk and compliance visibility to be able to do continuous attestation.
And you know, frequently budgets are tight, right? Like many companies, are tightening their budgets. AI is kind of, eliminating many jobs. How do you guys show, clear ROI to potential customers if they're giving you guys some pushback about buying your solution?
So I'll give you some staggering statistics. What we have seen, given that we now have scanned trillions of lines of code in our system, what we are seeing that is a couple of years ago, we would see AI influenced code consume about 2 to 10% of all of the code that passed through our system. Today, when we assess the code quality passing through our system, we see that upwards of 75 to 80% of all of that code has been influenced by AI. Now, here's the really concerning statistic. The concerning statistic is that of that vulnerable code that we find, at least 50% of it has a high severity issue. And what that means is, in the real world, if that code is deployed to production, that code can be exploited. That is incredibly dangerous. And we all know what the reputational damage and the business risk is going to be, and what we will spend to repair that reputation, if we can ever repair that reputation in the event that we've experienced a breach. And so our intent is to shift security left, to make it available to developers to secure their code while they're writing their or building their applications. But if they're consuming open source or they're using AI, we don't care. We secure all of your code, whether it's AI authored or consumed by open source. It's probably a great segue into what we see in open source libraries. We don't just see developers using AI and introducing security vulnerabilities. We now see open source also experiencing the same transformation and development. And what is happening is developers are using AI to produce those open source libraries. And guess what's happening? We now are starting to see upwards of 80% of those libraries have some kind of high severity vulnerability in it. So what's really important is it's not just about innovation, even though our platform does give time back to developers so they can innovate more quickly. It has now become about the regulations that exist and are starting to exist globally that mean that we've got to continuously attest that the software we put in production was safe to put in production. We've got to provide proof. We've got to provide audible proof that that was placed into production by an individual who attested that that software is secure. And the massive gap in the market today is that there is no solution out there that enables that safe, secure proof and trust and deployment and attestation post-production. That's exactly what Veracode does. So you asked me a little bit about our product portfolio. I think not about what we do from a product portfolio point of view. I think about it as the platform and what does the platform bring to life for organizations. And what we do is we guarantee peace of mind, we increase the speed of development, and we enable them to use artificial intelligence as the competitive advantage that it is.
And it just seems like code security is such an important thing, right? It's so important to secure your code and have secure code. What's holding customers back, from even buying this solution? Because it seems like it's such a clear value add to me.
Yeah, and it depends on the region, right? So when we go to Europe, of course, we have GDPR requirements. We've got the EU AI Act. So there are many motivations for organizations to act across the globe. But part of this is awareness for developers that they're using Lovable or they're using applications to rapidly compose their own business value is having them realize that you're trading off speed for insecure code. And for many people that we meet, they don't realize what's in their applications, in their code. And so what our platform is able to do very, very quickly, it's able to go out and find all of the places where you're putting code on the internet or you're putting code out there that's connected to your organization, and we can tell you immediately where you're vulnerable. And look, we meet a lot of people at the place where there are the intersection of, I thought my code was safe. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that I have code out there that can be breached today. And so that's the place we start. But that's the reactive. What they realize with the Veracode platform is that the real productivity comes when you are proactively assessing risk and proactively fixing it, preventing it from ever making its way out there into the wild so that it can be breached. And so that's the real value. So for many organizations now, we've moved beyond the place of, we want to tell you that you have code that's not secure. They already know that. It's widely known now that artificial intelligence is increasing code insecurity. And so everybody's looking for a solution. And when they're looking for a solution, they realize that there's a big gap. Many of the platforms and tools that are out there today provide accelerators to write software. They often provide the components of the platform, but not a complete platform. They'll provide the developer experience, or they'll provide the repo security, or they'll provide integration into their tools. But what they miss is you need a complete platform to be able to prove and attest and provide auditable proof that what you deployed to production was safe and continues to be safe. And for many people, it's not just a snapshot in time, it is doing that continuously. And that's the key. And that's exactly what we do. So, there's a big sigh of relief when people get to see our platform in action and realize all of the tentacles into their organization where we can make their code secure, but provide them with that proof and attestation.
Brian, but that means our code is becoming less and less secure because, right? That means all of our code is becoming less and less secure because of AI, because so much code now is accelerated or built with AI, right?
That's exactly right. And that's in large part due to how artificial intelligence works, right? When we ask artificial intelligence to produce a line of code or a fragment of code to us, it doesn't determine whether or not you want that code to be high quality, meaning having few quality issues in it. It doesn't mean that you want it to be performance, so we want it to perform quickly. And it also doesn't think about security. And we can go on down that list. And that's just how AI works, right? And many people say, well, what if the prompter is a mature, able to write mature prompts? Still, what you're going to find is that code has been trained on, those models have been trained on code that's not secure. And ultimately, what's going to happen, you're going to take that fragment of code and you're going to include it in your application, and you're not going to be secure. So, adopting AI is like driving a car at breakneck speed down a really steep gradient with no brakes, right? Eventually, something bad is going to happen. And what organizations are realizing now is, look, I've got to use AI because everybody else is, and it's providing me a competitive advantage. But I do need to make sure that those brakes are in place if I need them, or that we're proactively preventing it so I never need to use my brakes. And that's really the key, right? The key is provide the easy button so you can go fast without ever having to worry about what's in your software, because somebody's paying attention to that continuously. And that's what we do, right? We enable people to lay their heads on the pillow at night and rest easy knowing that what they deployed and what is in production is safe.
And who's the ideal ICP who usually buys the product and pushes it up in the organization? And how small of a business can be and still get massive value from Veracode?
So one of the things you do on a daily basis as a CEO is relentlessly prioritize your time. And you've got a sea of things coming at your head all the time. And I say to people, if you want to get my attention, start with risk. Predicate whatever you're going to tell me that this is business risk, right? Because job number one is prevent risk across the organization. And so when we talk about our ICP, or ideal customer persona, it is those people in the organizations that think and worry about risk. We happen to have Tim Brown, a well-known CISO, speak at our town hall. And when he went through his event and when he went through his incident, he was personally liable, right? For many of the CISOs on the planet, this is not just their business responsibility. They are personally signing off to say that we are deploying software to production, and I'm attesting that software is secure. And look, the security community has let them down when it comes to a platform and set of tools. And that's why we've stepped in to close that gap, bridging what was the old world or yesterday to the new world, which is continuous attestation, or said a different way, a trust fabric that enables them to stand up in front of their boards and their regulators and say, we are secure. Because when we think about risk, who are the stakeholders? It's my board, it's your board, it's organizations who need to make sure that they're managing and prioritizing risk appropriately. And ultimately, for many organizations, we see they will not ship with a high severity or a SEV1 issue because they know the probability of being breached is high. And we all know that it's not just developers using AI as a productivity tool. We know that hackers are equally looking at it and saying, we can use AI to exploit all of this vulnerable code. And of course, they're seeing the types of code fragments that are coming out of AI models. So we're all getting very sophisticated in how we're using AI. But ultimately, to answer your question, the ideal persona is someone who thinks about, worries about, and is responsible for risk. And most importantly, the simple question to ask is, who in your organization is responsible for attesting or showing or proving that the software you deployed today is secure? Because it's not just a point-in-time activity. And aggregating all of that across your entire organization, that's hard. And we make that easy. And so that's ultimately the gap that we're seeking to fill.
And I'd like to ask a question about customer acquisition. For Veracode, is it mainly product-driven motion, meaning they come on and like they sign up on your website, or is it usually a sales-driven motion where it's like your sales reps try to reach out to the relevant person in the company?
I'm asked this question. I spend a lot of time with our sales team, and the way that I think about the topic of selling is we're not out there selling Veracode, right? We've gone out and we've tested the market. We've talked to thousands of CISOs about what their challenges are, and we've built and arrived at a platform that solves all of their problems. And so when I talk to our sales organization, I say, we're not selling. You're going out there and you're finding the people with these problems and you're showing them what we do, and it's just a perfect amalgamation, right? Because CISOs look at our tool and it's CISO tested. And they look at it and say, this provides me exactly what I need. I worry every day that the software we're deploying is secure. And today I do that through manual means like Excel or don't do it at all. And I won't divulge who those organizations are who say, oh my goodness, I don't do this on a daily basis at all. I do it once a year, or I do it a snapshot in time. And so really it is, go out there and find those folks who worry about this and have this problem and show them what we have and tell them what good looks like. And most importantly, give them an opportunity to try the product. And when they try the product, they see that we can go out and find all the risk, even the risk they didn't even know that they had, and report it to them and show them where they are vulnerable or susceptible to breach. But more importantly, back to Veracode Fix and auto fixing, we can auto fix it for them, right? And so if you're a CISO and you're worried about reporting to regulators or reporting to your board, it is the easy button. You log into the console and you're able to say, continuously, I can tell you that my software is secure. Continuously, I can tell you that developers are not only adopting or leveraging a process, but the software they're deploying is secure. And that's it. Like those are the people that we connect with every day. And you go to Europe, the topic is even more relevant, right? And I know that you're on the other side of the planet right now doing this podcast. So you visit all these different regions and you hear what they're facing as challenges. And so look, it's just a perfect pairing of you got problems, we have an answer.
And Brian, you mentioned you guys have about 700 team members. So your team is, you have a solid team. And which like one or two activities currently take up, 50, 60% of your day?
Well, so as a CEO, I think you spend almost all of your time between two different disciplines, the sales organization and the product organization. Everything we do as a technology and product company begins and ends with the product, right? So it starts with, did you create a great product that people want to use? Did you create a great product that they want to tell their friends about? If you've done that, that's more than half the battle. The other part of that is making sure that the sales organization knows that. And one of the big things I did when I became CEO was try to tear down those walls, right? Bring the barriers down, bring the organization together, shorten the distance from creating a product to getting a product into a customer's hands and educating a customer on what we have and making them aware of it. So you're continuously looking at that loop. And at Veracode, we've got some remarkable people who are dedicated and passionate about our customers and just passionate about security. We've been doing this for almost 20 years. And so we love what we do. We live to do what we do. And so, when you got people showing up like that, all you're doing is pointing them in the right direction, removing roadblocks and unearthing, problems and going and root causing and solving them and getting people to work together to go drive those outcomes.
And Brian, you're probably like an extreme code security expert because, right, you're a CEO of Veracode. You probably know everything, right, that there is to know about code security. What do you think most folks misunderstand about code security?
Well, the good thing is, while I do have to have a deep knowledge of security, I have a phenomenal team and a phenomenal company behind me who are all experts in security. So where I don't know, they more than fill in the gaps. And so what we would want to get out there as our message to the world is you're trading off security for speed. And it is well known now. Recently on LinkedIn this weekend, Claude released some new papers that talks about how artificial intelligence or AI models are producing code that's not secure, and they're going to continue to do that for the foreseeable future. It is educating everyone that what you're doing is leveraging mechanisms that are unsafe and not secure, but up-leveling the conversation that it's not about the tools, it's not about the technology. The technology is going to continue to evolve, but what it's all about is it's about trust, right? At the heart of everything we do, whether it's an organization or relationships, can I trust you? Do we have the trust with each other across the organization? And can organizations trust that the software that they're deploying is safe? Look, tools and technology are going to become commodities, right? We've seen that in AST. What is not going to be a commodity is trust. That never gets old. We're always going to need to do that. And so getting that message out there that there is a better way. So yes, you are using mechanisms to go quickly, and you need to do that to go fast to maintain your competitive edge and to maintain an advantage. But you got to do that safely. And you don't have to trade that off. There is a way to leverage a platform that bridges the gap from the old world, which, by the way, many of the AST security tools, the application security testing tools, are still doing what they did 10 years ago. And so we bridge that gap from the old world to the new world, where where many of our competitors are not, and we're closing that gap and have closed that gap. So I'd want to get that message out to everybody that we've got a solution for you.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing so many of your valuable lessons, shared about your amazing product, Veracode. Is there anything else you'd like to say to our viewers before we log off?
We'd like to say that, listen, go visit us at veracode.com. Give us a call. We'd love to take you through what we built as a platform and portfolio of products that enable you to go from rapidly creating software to rapidly creating secure software that you can prove and trust every single day. We are on the road across North America and globally almost every single month. So look for us coming to your city, and let's connect with you. Listen, the world can be a safer place. We don't have to trade off speed for security. And we've bridged that gap from AST tools in the past to the future. And we are innovating faster and quicker than anybody else. So we'd love to chat with you.
Brian, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Vlad, thank you very much. Appreciate it.